welcome back to my channel. So I had some questions that were asked about my shoulder surgery regarding anesthesia. So I thought I would just share with you my experiences. Of course, everybody is different. Every doctor's different, every patient's different, every surgical center's different. So it's not necessarily going to be the same thing for you. So I will just let you know what my experience was. Okay, so I'm going to try to go over the questions that were also posted. So, well, let's start off with the first thing, the morning of the surgery. Obviously, you're going to be under general anesthesia, and we are in a kind of different time right now with COVID. My husband had to wait inside the car in the parking lot for me as I was, you have to go in by yourself, or at least I did in our state. We live in North Carolina. So that was, not the most fun thing, but I know he was praying for me out in the car and supporting me from out there. So, my experience was I came in and they, do the temperature, ask the questions, if you've been around groups of people, and they actually had me put on one of their masks, and then I had to go take care of the financial part first, which is so much fun. And then they called me back, and I went to a pre-surgical suite. And basically what they did there, they weighed me, again, took my temperature, my blood pressure. She took my blood pressure, and I've always had really good blood pressure. And she's like, wow, you were just so calm, and I was really calm. I felt good about the staff that was going to be working on me that day. So, whether you worry about it or whether you're scared to death, you still have to do the same thing. So you might as well put less stress on your body and take a deep breath and just go with it, because you're not the expert, they are. And you have the power of asking questions and getting answers if that's what you need. But anyway, so I went into the surgical suite, had all my vitals taken, and had to change into that beautiful hospital gown that hasn't changed its style since 19 something or another. And these just fashionable brown socks with the rubber anti-skid on the bottom. So, you got to start off looking cute. And so, I changed into that. Then they had me lay in the bed. And then I will be quite honest with you, my least favorite part, the IV. Okay, so it's not that an IV hurts. I'm very good at handling pain, actually. But two things. It just grosses me out. Like, it's like on top of your hand, and I have veins. I don't know. It just grosses me out. But then my experience when I had to have an emergency C-section with my son, they went in my left hand, went in my right hand, went in my left hand, went in my right hand, and they said, we're going to have to put this IV in your foot if we can't get it in. And I was just like in, labor. So they ended up getting it in my left hand. Finally, the anesthesiologist came in and got it. So they said that I have petite veins and I'm valvy. So just to tell the next person who has to do it if I ever have to have one again. So that was not the most fun part. And yes, my blood pressure rose because I just do not like that process. They had to call, the nurse couldn't get it in. They had to call the anesthesiologist, and she actually put it like in the side of my wrist. And I told her, I said, if I ever have to have one again, I'm going to request that, because it seemed so much more stable on my hand than, like an IV moving around on the top of your hand. Ugh. Yuck. All right. So once the IV was in, trust me, there was a mini celebration in the room, followed by an IV cocktail. And it was fantastic. So she's like, how would you like a cocktail? And I was like, that sounds pretty good. I'm pretty thirsty. I haven't had anything past midnight. I'm just kidding. It wasn't a drink. It was through the IV. So she gave me some medication. I don't know what it was in the IV. And I was like, all right, I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling, this isn't going to be so bad, And then she's like, well, you know what? I'm going to give you another cocktail so we can work on that nerve block. And I was like, oh, I forgot about that nerve block. I wanted it, but I don't even know how they did it. And I still don't know how they did it. So they gave me another IV cocktail and she's like, just look at the left wall. And I was just like, I remember just looking like, and I had my right shoulder, had surgery on my right shoulder. And so, of course, they had to put the nerve block on the right side. And I have no idea what they did. I don't know how big the needle was. I don't have any idea about any of it. I was still coherent, but I couldn't feel anything. She was a magician, and I will forever love that woman because it was a 72-hour nerve block, which is a newer kind, because I know that I am no nurse, but I believe it was like 24 to 48 hour. And then there's a new kind that they came out with that's 72 hour. And I think that's why I've had such a wonderful recovery. But anyway, that was in, and they're like, okay, your nerve block's in. And I'm just like, okay, and they're like, well, we're ready to take you, and then they lift the bars on the sides of the bed so I can't escape in a drunken stupor. And so the nurse, she pushed me out of the room. There might have been an elevator involved. I was really feeling I was flying, you know what I mean? But I felt fine. I just was like really okay with everything, So then we get to the surgical suite and I do remember they transported me from the one bed onto the surgical table. And I was like, wow, that was fast. I just I was really loopy. And then I don't remember it going on my face, but then I remembered it was on my face. I had a mask over my face and they started talking to me and then I was sleeping. So there is not, I know somebody just had questions about being anxious, about being awake, and then about being asleep. It's just like the combination of what I had. Now, hopefully, you have something similar because it was fantastic, but it was an ease into it. My nerves were all worked up because of that IV. Then I had one cocktail, and by the second one, I was easy like Sunday morning, So, all right. So then that's the last, memory I had of being awake. I just remember looking at the ceiling and I almost thought the ceiling was changing. And then I was like, well, that's strange or something. And then that was it, Then I woke up in the recovery room, which was not in the same room. And let's see, I don't want to be skipping any questions. I think I've got it. Yeah. So then I woke up in the recovery room, with like the nurse staring into my face. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot why I was there. I had no pain when I woke up, 0 pain. I had my sling on. I can barely see it right now because I'm wearing all black. But it's just like all of a sudden you're here and then you're there and you don't even know about time passing. So I don't know if the person that had wrote me questions has been under anesthesia before. I mean, I have, but it was a very smooth, especially because it wasn't like any kind of an emergency like surgery, so it was just like planned and they know what they're doing, So woke up in the recovery room in that beautiful 79 gown. That's the year I was born. And, the nurse was just standing there and she's like, all right, I'm going to check on you in a couple minutes. And I'm like, okay. She came back and she had like a couple crackers and some soda with a straw, I think. And I remember before she brought the snack over. I just remember staring and like the eyes rolling back, and then I'd be like, here I am. And I felt like the nurses were staring at me. I just couldn't like stay focused on anything, but it was just, I say it was a good time. I mean, what are you gonna do? So then the nurse comes back, and like a couple minutes after the snacks, she's like, oh, okay, well, so one thing I forgot to say, when you go into the room where they do, where they do the IV and where they take your vitals and stuff, you put all of your belongings in a bag, and then they put your name on it, and that bag goes right with you into the recovery room. And so she's like, all right, let's get you up and get dressed. And I'm like, well, I know she's definitely not talking to me, because I don't know if she just realized, but I just had shoulder surgery and I am loop-de-doo-dah right now. But she was talking to me. And so I just sat up on the side of the bed, zero pain with movement, totally fine. And, I'll say if you've seen my previous videos, those outfits that my mom made. So I wore all leopard print pajamas and with the snaps from the collar to the end of the sleeve. So, I was just trying to be cute, and so, it was really good that I had those. So I would just say, when you go into the hospital, it's not about wearing anything tight. Okay. You want to wear easy pull-up pants. You don't wear a bra. They want you to take everything off for the surgery. If you wear underwear or your bra, everything comes off except for that good looking gown and some of those, cute socks. So, it's like you feel like you can't get changed, but then all of a sudden, the nurse is helping you, and then, okay, well, look what we just did. I'm dressed. Everything's good. And then they pop you right into a wheelchair and wheel you out so they can wheel the next one in. So they told my husband where to meet, at the side of the surgical center, and they pushed me right out to the car, and I hopped into the car. I didn't have any pain. And I did, if you saw my first video, I guess it is, sorry, I can't remember, but I did a video like literally after I just got in the car from the surgery, and I looked a little special. My face was really swollen, and I don't know what I was talking about. But anyway, so let's see. I think that's everything. I would just say the biggest thing that I would take from this, because this doesn't matter what kind of shoulder surgery or whatever kind of surgery you're having. Again, worrying will not change the process. I would just say, look at it as something that can be helpful, that something you can look forward to not being in pain, and just know that worrying will not help the situation. I mean, we're human, we will worry, but to totally freak out and oh my gosh, and get yourself, your heart rate up, blood pressure, and get yourself into a tizzy. You have to believe in the doctor and the team, the staff, and just take a deep breath, because like I said, it's the same surgery, no matter if you go in scared to death or if you go in and you're just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. But that's why the nurse, when she took my vitals, she was like, wow, your blood pressure is just so good. And I was just like, I'm not worried. Like, I just wasn't worried. And the IV really sucked. But other than that, piece of cake. And I mean it. It really, really was. So I'm so happy to share anything else. If anybody has any more questions about, I can only help with what I know and what my personal experiences were. I'm not trying to tell you anything about what your experience is going to be, but it does help to hear from somebody that has, gone through it. That's why I watched the YouTube videos, and before my surgery, and that's why I decided to make them. So anyway, and I have to tell you, just really quick, if you made it to the end, you're a champion, because I just have been talking forever. I have really, really enjoyed making these videos. There's not going to be too much more to post about my shoulder surgery, but I really love cooking and baking and decorating and hosting, which we can't do too much of these days, but holidays and traditions, crafts. I love all that kind of stuff. And I've enjoyed making these videos so much. So I'm kind of like thinking I might do that too. So let me know if you're interested in me doing that too. Anyway, but if you have any questions, or please, if you want me to pray for you, I would love to. If you would just let me know the day of your surgery. You don't even have to tell me your name, okay? And I will make sure to pray for you. But I'm sure that there'll be, you'll have support and people on your side. So, anyway, thank you so much for staying to the end if you watched the whole video, and hope to talk soon, my friends. Good night.